All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Virtual Girls in Aviation Day at St. Louis University. While we would have loved to host you in person this year, we are very glad we can at least connect with you today virtually. We have a great itinerary of current students, faculty, instructors, guest speakers from industry, and some phenomenal keynote addresses for you in this virtual space today. We hope that you'll be able to connect with and find inspiration from these sessions. My name is Amy Price, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for Parks College. I'll serve as the webinar host today as we move from one session to the next. All sessions today will be hosted in this webinar space and via YouTube Live, and you may use the link emailed to you to access each session throughout the day, so feel free to come in and out as your schedule allows. We will be recording each session and we'll have them posted to our YouTube page, youtube.com/SLUPARKS in the coming days. If at any point today you have technical difficulties, we recommend first logging out and logging back into the webinar with the link provided by email. And if other issues persist, please email parksevents@slu.edu and we'll provide what assistance we can. As you will learn today, the aviation industry offers a multitude of opportunities and careers. All of the professionals you'll meet during this event are excited to introduce to you what they do in their careers and maybe help you find your own passion. We have an exciting day planned ahead, beginning with an introduction to aviation through a panel of young women in aviation, then onto our career exploration sessions, 2 keynote addresses from leaders in the industry, and closing with a virtual discovery flight in a SLU aircraft. Please refer to the event schedule that was emailed to you for more detailed information about sessions and times. Please also note that our 12 p.m. session has been canceled today for technical difficulties, so our keynote addresses will begin at 12:30 p.m. To kick off our program this morning, though, I would like to introduce SLU Aviation Science Department Chair, Steve Majek, to share some words of welcome. So Professor Majek, I will turn it over to you now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Majek, and I'm the Department Chair and Professor in the Department of Aviation Science here at St. Louis University. First, I'd like to thank you all for logging in and being here today. We're excited to host you for SLU's 3rd annual Girls in Aviation Day, an event that is one of many put on around the country in partnership with Women in Aviation International. I'd like to take a moment to recognize our industry partners and keynote speakers for their generous support of this event. We thank each and every one of the individuals who have come together this year to make a Girls in Aviation Day possible. So St. Louis Lambert International Airport, Ideal Aviation, the Transportation Security Administration, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, American Airlines, Stephanie McLeod and Take Flight Girls, Captain Andrea Lewis, multiple SLU students, faculty, and staff. We appreciate all of whom have taken time out of their days today to participate in this event and present the various opportunities in the aviation industry. We also appreciate you, students, teachers, and classes who have chosen to take time today to join us virtually. And I'd just like to add that it's going to be a pretty exciting thing for you today. We've got a lot of stuff to show you, and a lot of different things going on in the aviation world that you could be a part of. And just remember, if you're thinking about aviation, we're right here in your own backyard here in St. Louis. So again, thank you and enjoy the day.
All right, thank you, Professor Majek. If I could have all of our student panelists turn on your videos, please. Lovely. Ooh, hang on just a moment. All right, so we have 4 young women joining our panel today. They are all currently studying aviation at SLU or instructing at SLU. And I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves in just a moment. But before that, I will Just to let you know how this will go, I'll start off with a few questions to get things rolling, and then we will open it up for audience questions. So if you have a question to ask, please submit those to the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen if you're using Zoom, or you can submit a question to the comment section if you're viewing us on YouTube Live. So for our panelists, to make things easier this morning, let's answer questions beginning with Grace, then Marissa, then Annie, then Mary. All right, so to begin, would each of you please introduce yourselves? Tell us your name, where you're from, your year in school or your current job, what you study or studied in school, and extracurriculars that you are involved in.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace Kane. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I am a current sophomore here at St. Louis University studying flight science. The extracurriculars I'm involved with here are, I'm the Vice President of Women in Aviation. I'm involved with our safety committee to keep our airport environment flight training safe. And I'm also a part of Alpha Eta Rho, our aviation fraternity. And I am the manager of the volleyball team here.
Hello everyone, I'm Marissa Warren. I'm from St. Louis. I'm a sophomore here. My major is flight science, and an extracurricular I'm a part of is basketball. I play basketball here at SLU.
Hello everyone, my name is Zanny Pham, and I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm currently a junior studying flight science with a potential minor in international business. I am currently involved with Alpha Eta Rho, our aviation fraternity. I'm also a member of Women in Aviation, and fun little thing, we have a Harry Potter club on campus, so I've been involved in that. I'm also a desk worker in Marguerite Hall if you choose to live in Marguerite Hall, and I also work in Pius Library here at SLU's campus.
Hi, I'm Mary Losante. I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida. I came to St. Louis University in 2014 and I graduated in 2018. I have now been working as a flight instructor, teaching flight science students how to fly since I graduated in June of 2018.
Thank you and welcome to each of you. So another question for you, why did you choose aviation as a career path?
So I come from a family of aviators. Mostly everyone is pilots, and it was always kind of there, but I never really had an interest in it until I went on a discovery flight my junior year of high school. And once I felt the thrill of flight, I knew that there was no other way that I could spend like the rest of my life. But most importantly, I wanted to find a purpose for my future. And I found a big purpose in flying and entering a field where females were underrepresented. So there's only about 7% of female pilots, and just my love for flying and knowing that I could make an impact and be a small change for increasing the numbers of female aviators was a big motivating factor for me.
So for me, none of my family is involved in aviation in any way. So in high school, I actually went to a Girls in Aviation Day that was hosted here at SLU. That was my junior year, and I got introduced to it that way. I took a discovery flight and I loved it. I already knew I liked traveling, and I knew I didn't want to work a typical 9-to-5 job sitting behind a desk. And so from my discovery flight, I just realized I really, really love flying.
So I like the aspect of being able to travel and discovering new places and new foods. And so, I mean, this career will definitely be able to help me with that. And I think also just being able to keep up in innovation and technology and safety has always been interesting to me in this field. I got started when I attended this camp in Pensacola. It's like the National Flight Academy. It's a great, great camp to get your feet dipped into aviation. And yeah, I also come from a family of, no experience in aviation, so I'm the weird one of the family.
I was very similar. I came from a family, there was no aviation experience whatsoever. But when I was a kid, I traveled a lot. And my favorite part of traveling was always the plane ride to or from. And so when I got to high school, my mom was like, why don't you take a discovery flight? I had 4 older brothers, and she had all my older brothers take a discovery flight. So she really encouraged me to do one when I was in high school. And based off of that one flight, I was like, oh, this is cool. So I tried to go to college for it, and it worked out.
Lovely. Yes, we have some trailblazers amongst us from their families. Grace, you touched on how, there just aren't a lot of women in this industry. So we'll be upfront with it. This is part of the reason that we're hoping to encourage more young students to think about careers in aviation. And hopefully today you can picture yourself, pursuing a career in an education here. So another, maybe a little bit of a broader question, but what are the things that you love about aviation and about the industry? Grace, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a really broad question because, what isn't there to love about aviation? I'd say if there had to be one thing, it would be the community, that everyone's just so tight-knit and supportive throughout. Everyone always has your back. They always want you to reach your goals, and especially I'd say for the women in the industry and just people that take up aviation as a hobby. No matter if they're a pilot, mechanic, they're on the business side, everyone is just always there for you. And it's really unique because although there's so many people in the industry and who are passionate about aviation, it just seems like a very small world because of how close our community is.
For me, I would say the fact that it's kind of like a hidden gem. Not many people would think like, oh, I want to be a pilot when I grow up. Like I didn't. I was thinking like, oh, I want to be an astronaut or something. But I think it's the hidden gem factor for me.
Similarly to Grace and Marissa, I think that this is just a very unique industry, and just like actually even the preparation of like going into this industry is unique. With flight training, we're doing it during college, and it's during a time of exams and classes, and then on top of that we are also going out to the airport and flying, and so that means that all of us has like this one passion, and we're able to connect, and we are all like-minded, we're all very hardworking, and we have perseverance, because it is tough to like be able to flight train and be a college student as well, but again, I just like-minded people and having each other's backs, and like the connections you make within aviation will last forever. So
When I go to work every day, I don't sit behind a desk typically. I typically am up in the air, which is really awesome. I just kind of sit there and look at the scenery and make sure my student's doing well. So, the fact that I get to not sit behind a desk and work at a computer for 8 hours a day, I had to do that actually a little bit during Corona. I had a different job. I was an analyst and I did not like it. I realized so much then how much flying is for me, because I enjoy it. I actually love flying, and I love sitting there instead of just sitting behind a black screen typing in numbers.
I loved all of those responses. It makes me want to go take a flight right now. So can we talk a little bit about the future? And would you tell us your career goals or dream job, or kind of what do you hope is next for you in your career?
For me, I see my future as like there's a lot of different paths I can take. You know, there's cargo, airlines, business aviation, but I'm particularly leaning towards entering a career in business aviation, which would be like flying for Fortune 500 companies, flying the executives around in really fancy and nice private jets.
My dream job would probably be an international airline pilot. I think that's what usually people want to get to, but either that or a cargo pilot, FedEx, UPS.
So for me, I have a little little process in my career. First, I want to become a certified flight instructor, teach students, and then build my time in order to go to a regionals airline. And then after my time at a regionals airline, I plan to either do cargo or fly at a major airline.
So I have had a little bit of a bump in the road, as one might say. I was supposed to be at a regional airline right now, but just due to Corona, I was not able to go forward with that. And SLU offered me my old position back, which has been amazing. But in the short term, regional airline is really what I want. And regional airlines, if you don't know, basically what they do is they fly for United Express, Delta Connection, American Eagle. So those smaller planes that have like United on them, those are typically regional jets. And usually you have to go to a regional before you can go to a major airline being just United, Delta, Southwest, etc. So hopefully my long-term goal would one day be Southwest Airlines.
Well, Mary, we are super glad that you're back with us at SLU for the time being. Just something to clarify that Annie, you brought up the hour requirements and kind of the progress through the industry. So when you hear pilots, especially flight students, talk about, moving into their dream jobs, there's a lot of stepping stones along the way to get there. So one of them is, after getting your ratings to be a commercial pilot, a lot of pilots will go on and get their certified flight instructor degree, which is what Mary has. And that's what our instructors have. So you can teach someone else to fly. And during that time, they do something that is referred to as building hours. So in order to be hired by an airline or a regional airline or some other different types of flying positions, you have to have a minimum number of flight hours. And so usually the most direct way to get those flight hours is to be a flight instructor, fly with your students, and you log each and every flight, all your time that you've spent in the air, and over time that adds up. And then that unlocks your next opportunity in aviation careers. All right. So those are some of our pre-written questions, but we would like to open it up to any of our attendees. If you have a question for our panelists, please submit those to the Q&A feature. You'll find that at the bottom of your screen if you are on Zoom, or you can submit a question through our YouTube live, I believe it's called the chat section. So I am monitoring that as well. But while we are waiting for some questions to come in, could our panelists tell us about your experience specifically at Parks? And what were some aspects of flight training that you maybe didn't expect before you started flight training?
So I've only been at Parks for a year and I'd say a half now, but I came into Parks already having my pilot's license. And I'd say the transition, just getting used to new flying, new planes, the structure of what university college flying is, that was a big adjustment for me. But it took like a semester and I was quickly able to gain more confidence in the plane and in my abilities. So that was a hard adjustment, and as well as how time consuming it is. You're constantly just like studying and trying to retain your knowledge and preparing for flights. that was also difficult, but I mean, getting to go from sitting in class to flying an airplane is something that I wouldn't trade the experience for. One of the coolest aspects of my experience at Parks is probably the places it has taken me to. So like in the region, I've been able to go to Madison, Wisconsin, Nashville, Tennessee, just, that's a daily, not daily, but a regular class activity. After this, I'm going to flying to the Lake of the Ozarks. So it's a really unique educational experience.
I'm actually a transfer as well, so this is my sophomore year, but I just started my flight training. I was at DePaul University in Chicago, and I was studying peace, justice, and conflict studies, so nothing related to aviation. But what I didn't expect was to start flying and learning everything so quickly. And it's been an amazing experience so far, and everyone has been very, very helpful in my transition. So.
So I am actually a first generation student, so which means I'm the first person in my family to attend college, and my experience in Parks has been very life changing in a way because I never really knew what to expect for college in general, and so also hopping into the flight science major, it was a difficult transition, quite honestly, at first, just being away from home and starting out classes and everything. But I kept on striving. So like, and just also making friends along the way really helped adjusting. And one thing in flight that I've had to find out was that your progress sometimes have to depend on the weather. So like if the weather's not good, you're not able to fly, and that can put a little pause in your training, but you're able to work on other things within the flight training. So at Parks, we do, of course, flight, and then we also do our ground lessons, and we do our simulator lessons. So if the weather's bad, you're able to do your ground lessons or your simulator lessons. So yeah.
My time at Parks was awesome. My freshman year, coming from Florida, I didn't know anybody in St. Louis. That was really a hard adjustment for me, and I struggled through my freshman year, but I really don't think, if I went to a different flight school, I don't think I'd be a pilot right now. The instructor I had freshman year really helped me through kind of that transition a lot, more than I would have expected a teacher to do. And then going forward through my flight training, my flight instructor, who I had later on, she became my mentor and my role model for me. And she's now my best friend. She actually flies a 737 for Prime Air, so she's pretty successful. But I had an amazing experience at Parks. Even when I graduated, my parents, they live in Florida. They basically were very encouraging for me to move back there. And just because of the experience I had at Parks, the people I knew, I couldn't leave. I didn't want to leave. And even when I worked for Parks and I left to go to the regional airlines and that didn't pan out for me, they had my back. They were able to offer me my old job back. So really, I have nothing but good things to say. I also love how at Parks, we really work on the Jesuit value, which is about the whole person. And I think that's really true in our flight program. We don't try and just get certificates and ratings, but we try and help our students be safe, competent, kind pilots as much as we can. But I just like that it's not a factory feel. It's more personalized. Everybody knows everybody. It's a really awesome small community in a mid-sized school.
Yes, I love the themes that I heard from all of your responses of perseverance and working hard, and it is a lifestyle and an adjustment as you move to college, and then with a flight training on top of that. Definitely you know, we rely on our community around us. And so it's great to hear that everyone has found and is part of, and I know each of you are leaders in that community as well. So we do have a question for Marissa and probably for Grace too. What's it like being a student athlete majoring in aviation?
It's very busy. I'm just gonna be completely honest. It's very busy. But it's really rewarding because flying and stuff, it doesn't really feel like, oh, I have to go to class, I have to write this long paper. It's fun. So I enjoy what I do, so it's not as stressful as you may seem. But I mean, definitely time management is the top priority at all times. So
Yeah, for me, I'm not an athlete, but I just work with the volleyball team and go to their practices. But I'd say it's definitely busy. My schedule, I always have something to do. Um, Planning each day is really important, and managing your time, like Marissa said. But I mean, the experiences I'm getting and just working with a team are really important for my future. I think because you'll always be, as a pilot, flying with someone else. So I'm gaining really valuable experiences, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Thank you both. This is a question for anyone. Is there a lot of math that you need to know to be a pilot? And if so, what kind of math do you need to study? So maybe in high school, which math courses should everybody be paying extra attention in?
I would say I took 2 math classes last year, survey to calculus and business statistics, and they were both very entry-level courses. But then this year, taking aviation physics brings about a lot of math. It's not overly stressful or difficult, but there's a decent amount of math, I'd say, involved in aviation.
I will add that maybe it makes it a little more engaging is that all of the math is applied math and you're using it in real time during your flight lessons for the most part. And there is a lot of, you do some calculations mid-flight. So being able to have just that foundation and that confidence in doing that is definitely helpful, but nothing tricky. Not too much calculus, don't worry.
I will just say pretty much just basic algebra with the actual flying part. Really simple addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Nothing too bad. I'm terrible at math, so.
Thanks, Mary. So a two-parter here. For our current students, how is the coronavirus pandemic affecting your education right now? And for the future, how does it look it might impact your career? So kind of in the short term and in the long term.
So for our education right now, we haven't really had a huge impact besides getting sent home last March. So we were off for, I guess that was a huge impact, for a few months from flight training. We weren't able to do that, but as it is right now, we take all the protocols, we get our temperature checked, that's a adjustment. And then before flying the plane, we go through cleaning procedures to clean it. And we always wear masks in the training environment when we're in the plane, in ground lessons, simulator lessons. So it's changed stuff. It's definitely put people behind in their training, but lost time is easy to make up when you have instructors that are really willing to fly and catch you up and get you back on track. So that's been really good. For the future, I don't know how it's really impacted me yet, but I'm still kind of looking forward, wanting to be a flight instructor before moving on to any other job. But I guess only time will tell. And I'm really optimistic that the aviation industry will come back, and it will come back even stronger than it was before, and with an even bigger pilot shortage as many older pilots are retiring.
So Grace pretty much covered all that we're doing at the airport right now, but for me in long-term goals, I feel like I'm just now starting my flight lessons, so I have a lot of time to hope everything will plan out, hopefully, by the time I get there, so I think I'm good.
Right. Yeah, I know at SLU and then especially at the flight line, there are different health and safety precautions that are in place and different procedures. But yes, like Marissa said, we are very hopeful that, as infection rates decline and, maybe we move out of a pandemic phase in the next year or two, the industry, will be there and will come back bigger and better and stronger and even more resilient. So this is an interesting learning time for aviation professionals and learning how to adapt to, kind of unforeseen things that completely change daily life. So thank you for those questions. Those were very insightful. Somebody else asked, is it easy to fly a plane? What do we think?
Yes. At first, no. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. But eventually, when you have been flying the same plane for years, it's like riding a bike. So it's definitely hard at first. It's very difficult. It's hard to figure out multitasking and the communication and different language and all of that. But a couple years in, I didn't fly for like 6 months over coronavirus, and I was so nervous flying for the first time. And realistically, it felt like riding a bike. So I will say, yes, it's very difficult in the beginning, but eventually it becomes kind of second nature. It kind of becomes like driving a car for me.
Any input from our students who are, so flight training isn't just physically operating the plane. It's a lot of the knowledge behind it and how to, first it's the stick and rudder of, how to physically get this plane in the air and then how to safely get it back on the ground. But then it progresses through something called instrument training, which is learning to use all of the gauges and the instruments within the aircraft to really understand where you are and where you're going and how to navigate. And then we move to commercial training, which is a lot more safety procedures. Commercial training is what gets you ready to be paid to fly for other people, so people can hire you as a pilot. And then there's multi-engine training, where you go from having one engine to worry about and now you have two. So throughout those progressions, you're just adding more and more knowledge onto your flight training. So flying a plane, stick and rudder, does anybody disagree? Do you think anybody could learn that?
I would agree with Mary in a sense that it's hard at first, but it's definitely something that anyone can pick up. It's not, everyone can fly a plane, and I think a lot of it is confidence and you just telling yourself you can, because that's the most important thing. If you tell yourself you can do it. So over time, it does get like riding a bike. As you gain more hours and get more comfortable, you just become used to it. So it's a lot to remember, but just growing and gaining knowledge makes it easier as it goes by.
Lots of practice, lots of repetition. Thanks for that question. So there's another question about, go ahead, Marissa, sorry.
I was just gonna say, since I just started, I would say that whenever I first took my first flight, I was like inside the whole time, looking at all the different instruments and all the things that are moving. But each time it's gotten progressively, like my confidence has been built every time. And so I can feel it getting easier. And like Mary said, secondhand nature kind of.
Yeah, I think it's the really cool thing about being a flight student is that your exponential learning increases so much from flight to flight, and you can physically feel that and see it in how you operate the plane and in your confidence. So it's really, really a neat learning environment. So there's a question about how many females to males are in the SLU aviation community. And if you guys don't mind, I actually know this answer. I ran the numbers. So nationwide, about 13% of flight students are women. At SLU, we were holding steady with that until this newest freshman class. And so we are currently at 15%, so 15% women and 85% male at SLU. Now that, sounds, a drastic difference in numbers, but we are hopeful, and we're excited to, keep increasing our numbers because, again, today is let's figure out who might be interested in the aviation industry and what opportunities are there for you. So thanks for that question. Someone else is asking, what's the most demanding or taxing part of being in aviation? Is it the schoolwork? Is it the flying? Or is it something else completely?
I would say, I think it's like the preparation of flying is, I think, the most taxing part. Because when you're up in the air, you're up in the air. And like, you're with your instructor. It just feels, I think it feels amazing just to be up there. So I don't think that's the most demanding part, but also just having to keep up with your schoolwork and keeping up, just preparing for your lessons beforehand, is the most taxing part. And like also multitasking, just juggling with your flight training and with your schoolwork. But you have 4 years to do this, so you will eventually get better and better at time management and being able to prepare well for your classes.
I would also say that the flying aspect is the most demanding part of this education. But the thing is, everything you're doing in the flying, in your flight training, is mostly carrying into your schoolwork besides your general education classes. So what we're learning in our instrument course, in our ground lessons at the airport, can carry into our instrument ground school in class. So it definitely carries over from one aspect to another. And it's very time consuming, but that isn't to say that we don't have time to have fun on the weekends, hang out with friends, even during the weeknights. We're still involved in extracurriculars. And so it's not like 24/7 only doing school, staying up till 2 a.m. and stuff like that. We do get our sleep. We get to hang out with friends, and all while getting a degree in aviation. So, yeah.
I would also say the preparation, but I don't feel like it's taxing really, because once you prepare it properly and you have a good flight, it feels really good. It feels very rewarding.
All right, thank you. We have a couple questions about for students currently in high school who might be looking at aviation or getting into an aviation education program. What are some helpful courses that high school students should be taking? Another question is, what are the education requirements? And I will tell you, it's more of a generalized education. There aren't too many, specialized things to worry about in high school. It's getting a good foundation. But can some of our pilots maybe talk to that a bit about what high school students can be doing now to prepare?
I'd say just keep studying, keep aim for getting the best grades in school and just being involved in organizations, getting a solid foundation in leadership and teamwork are really important. As for high school students, if you are interested in aviation, I'd say go out to your local airport and take a discovery flight. And if there are financial constraints, there's so many scholarships for aviation. I mean, flight training can be expensive, but one thing a lot of people don't know is how many opportunities there are in scholarships and how many people are willing to help you out. So it's very doable. And getting the best grades and doing well on your entry tests will help you get a lot of financial aid and scholarships from SLU. So that's really helpful.
I will say, like Grace said, going out to your local airport, taking a discovery flight, just kind of getting a gist of what flying's like before you go to college is great. Also, something that's a really random class to take, but I think it really benefited me freshman year that you could potentially take in high school is public speaking. When you get into aviation, you constantly are having oral examinations. So basically somebody rapid fire questioning you and you have to, answer very confidently, very eloquently. That was a big struggle for me when I first started, as well as radio communications. You're always talking to somebody pretty much on the radios. So public speaking, actually my first flight instructor, he made me take public speaking my second semester freshman year. He was like, you need to get more confident when you speak publicly. So that would be something that's a really good skill to have for tests in aviation and just for everyday flying.
That is great advice. Thank you. So we are nearly about out of time. Let's do one more question. So someone asked, why did you pick SLU specifically for your aviation education? So what was your decision-making process and what brought you here?
So I really gravitated towards SLU because I liked that it was a mid-sized college, like Mary said before, but our aviation school was only about 120 kids. So I knew basically everything. And it didn't really feel like a pilot mill where we were just creating pilots. We were creating, being educated to be more than just a pilot. And that Jesuit mission of developing the whole person was really important. I love that I know everyone in the aviation school and I know all my instructors and I'm able to have relationships and, just be friendly with all of them. So it's a really unique aviation college in that sense.
For me, I would say, well, it's a little different for you guys now since it's online, but whenever I went to the Girls in Aviation Day here, it was really the family atmosphere. And like I said before, I was at DePaul and I actually transferred. So whenever I was transferring, I was looking at all the schools that had aviation. And it really brought me back to SLU because I knew that the atmosphere was a vibe that I would like to be a part of.
So for me, I picked SLU because it wasn't too far away from home. I would say I consider myself a homebody at times. So just being able to go back home, because Memphis is like a 4-hour drive from St. Louis. So I think that was one of the things. And then another thing is financial aid. SLU really helped me out in my financial aid package and just being able to afford my flight education itself. It's been amazing. And it's also, again, I also am a city girl in a way. Like I enjoy living in the city. So being able to come to St. Louis and experience the vibrancy of it is really nice, and being able to go to places, I mean, before COVID, of course, and discovering a new city has always been an interest of mine going to college. So yeah.
So I am a little bit opposite of Annie. I actually wanted to kind of be far away from home. So I am from Jacksonville, Florida. The closest flight school is Embry-Riddle. It's about an hour from my doorstep. So I really was looking somewhere kind of out of state, somewhere different. I really had never been to the Midwest actually prior to looking at colleges. It kind of brought me to St. Louis University. When I first toured SLU, I actually was not a fan because it snowed the day I did my tour, and it was an outside tour, and I'm from Florida, so that just does not mix for me. But then I came back for a summer camp, and I did a summer camp for a few days, and I fell in love with SLU in the summer, and I got to see it, got to live on campus, I got to be there, and after that experience, that's when I was like, yep, I'm going to SLU. Which I'll kind of plug. We do have an aviation summer academy at SLU. I think there's 2 sessions. Amy could obviously give you more info about that, but definitely just getting on campus and just feeling the atmosphere. That's what kind of brought me to SLU. And I wanted to go out of state, so those were my 2 kind of biggest things.
Yes, Mary, perfect plug there. We do have an aviation summer academy. Unfortunately, this past year we had to cancel due to health and safety reasons. And we are cautiously hopeful that we'll be able to offer a summer camp in summer 2021. However, we are also working on, other ways to connect with students. So keep checking your emails, like this virtual event that's normally an in-person thing, but the information is there, and we would definitely love to have you when you're able to come visit. Okay, well, we've got about 2 minutes. Just wondering if anybody has any final words of advice or encouragement for some of our students who are attending today.
I would definitely say, sorry, go ahead, Grace, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go then, Marissa. I'd say don't set limits on yourself. There's so many possibilities, and if you're passionate about something, go after it. Don't be afraid to be the only one doing something, and just because your friends aren't doing it, just go after it, follow your passions, and do what you love and makes you happy.
Okay, I would also say go after what you want, because I tried ROTC and that wasn't for me. And I went the extra mile to be my own best advocate and find a place where I could pursue what I wanted to pursue.
I have only one thing to say, and it's let's increase those numbers in women in aviation. Let's increase them because, we'll be here for the long run. And, we are a great community to join. So I can't wait to see you if you decide to join us here at SLU.
Yeah, pretty similar to everybody else. Definitely with aviation, if you have any interest, I would highly suggest a discovery flight. Really, there's nothing like being up in the air. And the fact that I get paid for it on a daily basis is always pretty cool. And like people have touched on, there's a lot of different areas of aviation. You don't just have to be a pilot, or you don't have to just be an airline pilot. There's so many different avenues to kind of go down in aviation. And like everybody said, it's a community. It's an awesome community. I had 2 friends that were flying the other day. One flies for a regional airline and one flies for Prime Air. And they were right behind each other at an international airport. And, they were like, oh my gosh, that's like one of my good friends. So that kind of stuff happens a lot in our industry. Like you might run into your friend that lives on the other side of the country in the airport because they're going to work and you're going to work. So I don't know, that whole thought is pretty cool, that it really is a small industry.
Definitely very small, very unique. That was great, everybody. Thank you so much for offering your time. For our viewers who are able to stay on for our career exploration sessions, we will be going into some of those careers that might not come to the front of your mind when you think aviation. So beyond piloting careers, or flight attending or air traffic control. But Anyway, we are just out of time for this session. So thank you again to Marissa, Grace, Annie, and Mary for taking time out of your day to be a part of this panel. I learned a lot, and I hope our attendees also did. For those who might be joining us or will be joining us for the rest of the day, just wanted to remind you that students who complete and return the Girls in Aviation Day worksheet that was emailed out will be entered into a raffle for a SLU Aviation prize pack that will be that will be mailed to you. You will have until October 9th to get those worksheets completed. So if you aren't able to attend each and every live session today, you can view the recordings on YouTube after today. So now we are going to take a brief break until 10 a.m. when we will take a virtual visit to St. Louis Lambert International Airport. So please stay tuned. Thanks again to our panel.